Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Kitchen Think podcast vodcast. This is being recorded on the 27th of July 2026. I'm Dr. Tim Kitchen. Today we're looking at Australia's emerging national approach to artificial intelligence and what it could mean for schools. I'll also take you inside a school I recently visited in Brisbane that's doing some really interesting work around innovation, AI literacy, and preparing students for a future that's arriving faster than most of us expected. Before we jump in, let me quickly point you towards 3 resources that I think are worth exploring. If you're looking for practical classroom ideas, head over to my creative teaching and learning site at timkitchen.net/CTL. You'll find free resources, articles, and plenty of practical ideas to help make sense of AI without adding another item to an already overflowing to-do list. I'd also encourage you to have a look at Educator Intelligence. Their certified AI courses have been designed specifically for educators, and registrations are now open for Educator Intelligence Live on the 6th of November. It's a hybrid event running across every capital city in Australia, as well as online. Look up live.educatorintelligence.ai. And finally, if you're involved in school leadership or governance, have a look at Culture Path AI via culturepathai.com. They are the only multidisciplinary AI governance consultancy in Australia and New Zealand working exclusively with schools. As AI becomes part of everyday teaching, learning and school operations, they're helping schools develop governance that is practical, scalable and built for education. Last week, I had the opportunity to visit St Rita's College in Brisbane for their Innovation Summit. While I was there, I caught up with Noni Harrison, the college's new Head of Teaching and Learning Innovation. What I enjoyed about our conversation was how grounded her thinking is. She's not interested in chasing every new technology that appears. She's focused on creating the conditions where teachers feel confident to experiment, collaborate, and keep learning alongside their students. You'll hear from Noni a little later in this episode. For the past couple of years, most schools have treated generative AI as another digital tool, something to explore, something to experiment with, something to gradually introduce into classrooms. I think that conversation has now changed. On the 15th of July 2026, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese visited the University of Sydney to announce a new national approach designed to ensure that artificial intelligence develops in Australia's interests. Much of the media attention focused on jobs, industry, and the economy. But there was another message that schools should not miss. This was not simply a technology announcement. It was a statement about the kind of country Australia wants to become. And education sits right in the middle of that discussion. What really caught my attention is the creation of a new Office of AI within the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Rather than leaving AI policy scattered across multiple portfolios, the office will coordinate work across areas including education, employment, copyright, child safety, energy, and national security. The Australian federal government has also committed to developing mandatory Australian standards for AI, with legislation expected in early 2027. That tells us that AI isn't being treated as just another new technology anymore. Government is starting to look at AI as something that touches almost everything: education, employment, copyright, energy, national security, the economy, and society more broadly. Once you look at it that way, it makes sense that somebody has to coordinate the whole picture. The day after this announcement, Australia's education ministers met. Their published outcomes focused on important priorities, including early childhood safety, teacher shortages, disability funding, and school reform agreements. What was missing, however, was a substantial national education response to AI. There was no major announcement about AI literacy, curriculum changes, assessment reform, student capability, or professional learning for teachers. So where does that leave schools? At one level, AI is now being treated as an issue touching almost every part of Australia's society. At another, educators are still waiting to see exactly what the national approach means for curriculum, assessment, and classroom practice. Education is included in the responsibilities of the new Office of AI, so more policy work is almost certain to follow. But schools cannot simply watch from the sidelines while they wait. One part of the Prime Minister's announcement stood out in particular: the commitment to protecting Australian creators. Writers, musicians, artists and journalists are to retain ownership and control of their work. That commitment recognises that human creativity still matters. The implications for schools are immediate. Students are already using AI to generate text, images, music, video and code, alongside the technical skills they need to understand copyright, attribution and authorship. Students should be able to identify sources, acknowledge meaningful AI assistance, and distinguish between work that reflects their own thinking and work produced largely by a machine. In an AI-rich world, transparency matters just as much as originality. If you haven't already, I encourage you to have a look at the top DigiTips for Busy Teachers episode titled "Who Owns Work Made with AI?" You can find it via timkitchen.net/digitips. The Australian Prime Minister also announced that the government plans to introduce new rules for large AI data centres, including where they're built and how they use electricity and water. Schools should be paying attention to this. Every AI-generated essay, image, summary or video consumes energy. Most students never see that cost because it occurs somewhere else, inside a distant data centre. Responsible AI use is not only about privacy, safety, bias and accuracy, it is also about knowing when AI adds value, avoiding pointless generation and recognising that digital technologies have real environmental consequences. More information about the hidden costs of using AI can be found in my Top DigiTips for Busy Teachers episode titled "The Hidden Costs of Gen AI." Look up timkitchen.net/digitips. Here is a sample from that episode. Tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude and Gemini are amazing. They can save time, spark ideas and support learning in really powerful ways. But they also come with hidden costs. Welcome to this top DigiTip for busy teachers titled "The Hidden Costs of Gen AI." Generative AI runs on huge data centres. These are buildings packed with servers that need a lot of electricity, hardware and cooling. Sometimes that cooling also uses water. And the scale is much bigger than most of us realise. Estimates vary, but even a single AI response can use anywhere from a few drops to a small glass of water once you include the cooling systems and the electricity behind it. That might not sound like much, but when millions of people are using AI every day, it quickly adds up to billions of litres a day. Think thousands of Olympic swimming pools every day. In the Prime Minister's statement on the 15th of July, he made an important distinction. Australia's goal should not be to replace people with AI wherever possible. It should be to use AI in ways that support worthwhile jobs and create new opportunities. That matters for education. Schools are not preparing students merely for today's AI tools. Those platforms will keep changing, and some of the most popular products today may look completely different in 5 years' time. The capabilities that endure are critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, adaptability, and ethical judgment. Students also need the ability to question information, including information generated confidently by AI. Writing an effective prompt is only one small part of AI literacy. Students also need to understand, at an age-appropriate level, how AI systems are trained, whose information they rely on, where bias can appear, why confident language can still be wrong, how automation affects work, and what responsibilities come with using generated content. Students also need opportunities to ask when AI should and should not be used. Schools should help young people use AI to expand their thinking and their creativity while ensuring they continue to do the intellectual heavy lifting. As the Prime Minister said, the questions AI raises aren't just technical. They reach into our economy, our laws, and the way we live together. The Prime Minister also pointed to the Pope's recent encyclical, which reminds us that these questions are moral and spiritual as well. If you haven't already listened to episode 2 of the Kitchen Think vodcast to find out more about the Pope's writing about AI in society and education, please do so. National policy provides an important direction, but the real work of change happens inside schools, in leadership meetings, staff rooms, classrooms, and conversations with students. That is why my recent visit to St Rita's College was so encouraging. I was there for the college's Innovation Summit, working with Year 5 students on podcasting with Adobe Podcast and Year 6 students on video animation with Adobe Express. The summit invited students to think about authentic challenges, including well-being and environmental sustainability. They developed ideas, made their thinking visible, and explored ways technology, including AI, could help amplify those ideas. While I was there, I interviewed Noni Harrison, the college's new Head of Teaching and Learning Innovation. Noni, how are you going?
Really good. Excited, elated, exhausted after a really big day, but a really successful event.
It's been a big day. Yeah, it's been great to be here at St Rita's, and thank you for being on the Kitchen Think podcast.
Thank you.
So tell me, Noni, first of all, congratulations on the new role. Tell us a bit about the new job.
Thank you. So as of next year, I will be the Head of Teaching and Learning Innovation at St Rita's College. And really it's a change management position. So I'll be looking at different education disruptors and how can we manage that while supporting the teachers and their sense of agency and that sense of collective efficacy as well. So it's really coming from a servant leadership position rather than piling on top of already busy teachers. It's how can we respond appropriately to those different disruptors.
Yeah, and we're finding more and more schools are adopting that role largely because of what's happening with AI.
Yes.
You've come from a library background, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Tell me a bit about that, and why do you think librarians should consider that type of role at a school?
Yeah, I've been a teacher librarian for 10 years now, and it was the perfect career move for me. One of my mentor colleagues suggested it as I was, just getting itchy feet and needing a change, and she said, this would be perfect for you. It's teacher support, it's working with students, it's content creation, it's critical thinking, it's everything I love about teaching rolled into one. So I was really grateful to have a mentor in her to suggest teacher librarianship. I think our ability to have this whole school-wide vision and a bird's eye view of the entire curriculum and every year level is a real asset to innovation and to responding to these educational disruptors. We are embedded teacher librarians here at St Rita's, which means that we're collaborating with heads of faculty, we're in staff meetings, working on assessment design, we're in classrooms as much as possible. So really being embedded allows us to not have a bolt-on program of information literacy, but to make sure that is authentic and it's contextual to what the girls and what the students need.
Tell me about how AI is affecting that.
In big and small ways. In big ways, in terms of upskilling the staff, ensuring that they feel confident to have discussions with students, that they can use it to improve efficiencies in their work, and then also respond to inappropriate use. And this is happening everywhere, as we know. Talking to the girls about having confidence in their voice, rather than offloading the challenge or offloading the work. That's a really big part of what we're doing is ensuring that they do feel confident to have struggle, to be able to develop their ideas in that sense. So for us in the library, we've been ensuring that AI literacy is coming into our information literacy lessons as part of that broader umbrella, teaching them how to use it for research, teaching them when it may be useful as part of that research or information literacy process, part of the assessment process, and providing PD for teachers as well.
So you start the role officially next year, or
Yes.
are you starting now?
I am actually starting it a little bit earlier, but it's not the full role this year. We, leadership, knew that I had been doing a lot of work on top of my job as a head of library to write policy, teaching and learning guidelines, working with heads of faculty, and they just saw that there was a need to invest a greater amount of time in that type of work, and then to extend that into really fun things like governance policy and working with the board and then the administration staff as well. We can't forget our support staff and the need to upskill them and make sure that they're feeling confident with using AI. So I have temporarily moved into more of just the AI role for the next 6 months until the end of the year. And then next year it will be the broader innovation role.
I can almost guess what our audience are thinking. And they're thinking, I wish we had one of you in all of our schools. It's just amazing. It's great.
Oh yeah, I think it is a very worthwhile investment, and I think it just goes to show that our leadership team are at the fore. They are really thinking ahead, and they're really willing to invest in this type of work. They see the importance of it for our students. So I'm very grateful. I couldn't do that without the support of our leadership team.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's think about 5 years' time. What's your vision for this school, for St Rita's, in 5 years' time when it comes to all the changes that are happening now?
Yeah, that's a huge question. It's even difficult to know what 2 years is going to look like. AI has certainly been the catalyst for quite a lot of change and reflection of what we're doing in education more broadly. I think at St Rita's, again, our leadership team are really looking at lots of new, unique ways of organising the curriculum, of looking at the timetable. We're so used to, in schools, particularly in Queensland, in Australia, being very rigid. You know, parts of our curriculum are very rigid. Our timetable is very rigid. So what I'm looking forward to is seeing greater flexibility brought into that. And our leadership team have already, again, shown that they've invested in that kind of flexible thinking, and our teaching staff once a fortnight get an early finish just in recognition of the extra work that they do. So things like that are demonstrating and showing that there are options, there are new things that we can try. So long story short, I suppose, greater flexibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Now let's switch over to what happened today. The reason why I'm here,
Yeah.
and you've had a number of experts in here for today. Tell us about what happened today at St Rita's.
Yeah, so today was our first Innovation Summit, and it was for years 5 through to 10. And really it was a test. Would something like this work? Would students see that it was a worthwhile investment of their time? And would the teachers get on board as well? It all came about from looking at AI and how we were addressing those issues that AI was bringing up, particularly issues of academic integrity and ethical use. I felt that instead of AI coming in and providing this inspiration and this creative outlet, it just became burdensome. And I think to some degree, it still is in certain aspects of education. It's just heavy. So I was wanting to obviously address those issues with staff and students, but also show them that AI is not just a chatbot where you can offload a challenging task and you don't have to do any thinking. It's the easy way out. I wanted them to think critically, to think creatively about how AI can actually amplify their ideas and their voice and their vision. So speaking with our deputy principal here about options, we came up with this idea of having an innovation summit. And we wanted to future-proof the event, not have it as an AI summit, because in 2 years' time, it might just be part and parcel, hopefully, of what we're doing, and it could be something else that we need to respond to. So it was all with the intention of allowing a creative outlet to encourage collaboration, those soft skills that are becoming even more important for young people to harness.
So it was lovely to work with the grade 5s and the grade 6s. With the grade 5s, we were doing podcasting as an output, and the way they collaborated in their small groups was outstanding. And I really didn't think they'd be able to achieve in the short amount of time they had. But what they did was brilliant, and their topics were fantastic. And then what was most important is a lot of the teachers and the students were saying, oh, can we use this in other areas?
Yeah, great.
Can I apply this technology to maths, to science, to English, and be creative in those subjects? That was great to hear those discussions. And the year 6s, we were working with the animation feature within Adobe Express, the little characters and the video side to build some video solutions. It was lovely working with them. Tell me about some of the other things that were happening today.
Yeah, so the 7s and 8s were, they worked with Sophia Arkenstall, who's also a St Rita's alumna, and Sophia is the founder of AI and Society. Really, she runs lots of think tanks and groups, collaborative groups that talk about the issues of AI and its role in the world. So the 7s and 8s were able to choose either the issue of mental health and wellbeing or environmental sustainability, and they needed to propose a solution to a real world problem. And we really challenged them to think of how they could incorporate AI into that solution to lift it, to amplify their ideas. And what they were coming up with was just absolutely fantastic. The 9s and 10s, they worked with Leah Henriksen from UQ, and they were looking at AI and critical thinking with a much broader theme of hope. How can we create a more hopeful future? And again, seeing them engage with that and propose solutions to a wide range of problems was phenomenal. They had everything from mental health apps to, I think one of the year 8 groups had created an AI-powered device that could be connected to your fridge. It would scan all of the food in your fridge, including the expiry dates, and then it would provide suggestions of what recipes to make out of that in an effort to reduce waste from just your household food.
Love it.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Some students were really aiming big, and they were coming up with new versions of desalination plants, and they were challenged to think about how they could take that huge idea and bring it down a little bit. How could we put those concepts of desalination into a product that could fit in your hand, so that we can get it to the people that need clean water the most? It was very inspiring, and I think we have a lot of hope with this next generation.
Yeah, they've been amazing.
Yeah.
It's been great. So thank you for inviting me to be part of this special day. And I'm really impressed with what's happening here at St Rita's, and very impressed with you and the way that your career is heading. And congratulations on the new role.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. We were so thrilled to have you here. It was a real coup for us. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. And thanks for being part of the Kitchen Think.
Thank you.
What struck me most in that conversation was Noni's understanding that innovation is both a structural challenge and a human one. Schools can write policies and purchase tools, but meaningful change depends on people feeling supported. Teachers need time to collaborate, examine assessment, try new approaches, and discuss what is or is not working. If teachers feel that AI is simply one more initiative being piled onto an already demanding workload, the responses will understandably be cautious. But when leaders create protected time, model thoughtful experimentation, and make professional learning relevant to classroom needs, innovation becomes a shared effort. Noni also highlighted the relationships between AI, assessment, and academic integrity. The easy response to generative AI is to focus entirely on preventing misuse. Schools certainly need clear expectations, But the deeper task is to design assessment that makes student thinking more visible. That means placing greater value on process, discussion, drafts, feedback, reflection, local context, and authentic application, not simply collecting a polished final product. AI should not provide students with an easy way around thinking. Used well, it can challenge ideas, offer alternative perspectives, and help students express and extend their own work. The student work at the Innovation Summit reinforced that point beautifully. The most powerful ideas came from students engaging with real issues, imagining possibilities, and then using creative technologies to communicate their thinking. AI and digital tools could amplify their ideas, but the curiosity, empathy, judgment, and imagination still had to come from them. One student might use animation to bring a character and story to life. Another might explore a response to environmental sustainability or clean water. The tool can help make the idea visible, but it cannot care about the problem on the student's behalf. So while schools wait for more national detail, what can they do now? First, develop a shared understanding of AI literacy, move beyond prompting and productivity to include bias, hallucinations, privacy, copyright, attribution, environmental impacts, and ethical decision-making. Second, clarify expectations around authorship and attribution. Students should know when AI assistance is permitted, how to acknowledge it, and which parts of the learning must remain entirely their own. Third, review assessment. Ask whether tasks make thinking visible, value process, and invite students to explain, defend, and reflect on their work. Fourth, invest in teachers. Provide protected time for collaboration, practical professional learning, and opportunities to experiment without feeling that every trial must be perfect. And fifth, keep the human purpose of education at the centre. The aim is not to produce students who are merely efficient users of AI. It is to nurture lifelong learners, thoughtful thinkers, creative problem solvers, and responsible citizens. Australia now has the beginnings of a national approach to AI. Education still needs a lot more detail, and I suspect we'll see plenty of that over the next year or two. Schools don't have to wait. The conversations about assessment, authorship, AI literacy, and what we value in learning are already happening. If they're not happening in your school yet, now's probably a good time to start. What I took away from my visit to St. Rita's was that innovation isn't really about technology. It's about people. It's about teachers who are willing to learn together, students who are curious enough to ask better questions, leaders who create the space for both of those things to happen. AI will keep changing, that's inevitable. The bigger question is whether we keep helping young people become thoughtful, creative, and ethical people, because those qualities aren't going out of fashion anytime soon. My thanks again to Noni Harrison and everyone at St. Rita's College for making me feel so welcome during the Innovation Summit. If you would like me to visit your school, either in person or online, get in touch via timkitchen.net/book-tim. And check out my top DigiTips for Busy Teachers series on YouTube via timkitchen.net/digitips. You've been listening to The Kitchen Think. I'm Dr. Tim Kitchen. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a colleague and subscribe through your preferred podcast platform. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and keep being creative.